Welcome to the show today. And on the show today, I want to talk about chapter 15 of my book called Marriage, Mind, Funk, and Mindfulness. We all know that people F with your minds. A lot of people in this world do. A lot of people say one thing and do another. They tell you lies and tales and want you to believe them. And sometimes when you're younger and naive, you do. And you are heartbroken when you find out that they're not telling the truth. And here comes my dog. Come on up. Come on up, Abby. Join the show today. Abby's joining us today. Say good morning. Hello. Or is it morning for you? Probably not. It's morning here yet. Say good morning. Good morning. We talked the whole night through. Good morning. Good morning to you. You have your ears back. Oh, there they are. Your ears grow back, do they? She can't see her dark ears against the dark curtains in our bedroom here, but chapter 15 of my book, and it's on sale on Amazon.com for $6.99. I make 35 cents every time a book sells. I think I made 20, 30, 40, whatever, less than 50 on selling all my books. And I wrote the book more for my health, my mental health. So chapter 15 of the book, I call it, I did look over the book, but to read it again would be too heartbreaking, so I didn't read this chapter at all. I just saw I titled it Sergeant Haney, and I thought, Sergeant Haney, what? Why did I do that? Sergeant Haney. That was my sergeant in basic training down in Fort Jackson, South Carolina, but it's the first sergeant I thought of. And his name, this sergeant I'm going to talk about, I might say his name in the book, but I don't think I did because I didn't say names, and I don't know his real name now. I can't remember it. I'm 67, and this all happened when I was 19 and 20, almost 20. And this gentleman was probably in his mid to late 20s, probably 27, 28. He was a sergeant in my National Guard unit in the Pennsylvania Army National Guard up at 14th and Calder Streets in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. And this Sergeant Haney, that's the name I gave him, chapter 15 of my book. I want to thank you for watching my videos, and I just appreciate it so much. But I just want to help anybody with their young days if they can. And you don't have to believe these chapters. I changed like where they went out on dates and where you were. And believe me, I don't know the names of the streets up in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania anymore, but I'm going to do my best to tell this chapter, this story, chapter 15 about Sergeant Haney. I was a young whippersnapper in the Pennsylvania Army National Guard. Just got back from basic training. I think I came back a PFC. It wasn't long till I got my E3. I did well in the school. It was a clerk type of school I went to at first before I became a key punch operator and then a computer operator. And then I got my E6 staff sergeant in the 6 years that I worked full time. And I didn't get that by any means doing things. Like I said, I was starry-eyed over Doug, David, Charles. And you do stupid things when you're starry-eyed in love. You think you're in love, you know? But Sergeant Haney, he was a nice gentleman. I didn't know anything about his life. I think I knew he was married. I'm pretty sure I did. And he was so kind. And I was the one learning the key punch. And I was teaching the guys that just joined the unit how to do the key punch. Eventually, in the future, I was teaching them how to run the computers. And I did get the Army Achievement Medal when I think I was in E5 at that time. I have no proof of any of this. I did keep that little copy of my driver's license from way back then, but I have no more. I didn't keep any of my medals. When I moved, or before when I moved, when I cleaned out, I cleaned out. So I do have record of my time in the military because I got it from Fort Indiantown Gap in Annville, Pennsylvania. They emailed me all that. So I had proof of the record to go VA loan like I tried. But then we went conventional because our camper sold. But back to Sergeant Haney. Very nice gentleman, very handsome gentleman. In his 20s, I just turned 20. So I got married when I turned 22. I was 21 on our wedding day on the 13th of January, 1979. And I turned 22 on January 22nd of 1979. So about a week after the wedding, I turned 22. But here I was around 20. And down in the break room for break time, a lot of the guys and the girls in my unit played pinochle. And I said, I have no idea. My parents, my friends, my family, none of them taught me how to play pinochle. The only thing I remember my mom teaching me was solitaire, the game she would play at the kitchen table by herself. And you should honor your father and mother. And I tried to do that. When they said to be seen and not heard, you're to be seen and not heard, I'd either go back to my room, go somewhere else in the house, in the basement, down to my basement room that I had for a while, or up in the woods and talk to the cattle and sing up there, sing opera. The cows would listen. Maybe they'd run too. Run for the hills. And I had a favorite bush, but they put a pond there now in that swampy area, which is a wonderful thing up there at the farm that I was raised on. My sister Nancy owns now, and her sons. And I just love that area. And I was raised there, and I'd sing to the cows and pray and talk to Jesus and cry sometimes. And I sometimes felt like the cats were the only family I had. Some days, we all have those days. But I honored my parents, and I tried to live by the Bible. I gave in, looking for validation and nurturing from two guys. One's name was Abe, which was Aaron, and Doug, which was David Charles. Not my brother-in-law, David, but a guy that worked with me at the Pennsylvania Army National Guard. But this gentleman, Sergeant Haney, I don't know his real name, taught me pinochle. We spent like a half hour learning the game, and then we played every break time for maybe the next 3-4 drills, weekend drills, 3-4 months. We got to be friends, good friends. So to make this long story short, in the meantime, because I had a pretty good paycheck from the Pennsylvania Army National Guard, GS, whatever I was at the time, full-time National Guard soldier, I bought a Chevette, royal blue-colored Chevette, and I was so proud of that little car. I loved that little Chevrolet Chevette, 1978. It was a 1978. I had like a 1976 Vega before that, and that Vega ran terrible. I think there was something with the engines about those Vegas. It was a silver Vega. That was the first car I purchased, and it was stick shift. And I learned that on my own because my brother got in and yelled at me, my brother Ken, and I said, out, I'll teach myself. I could be a pretty stubborn woman back then, even now I am, but I'm a lot better health-wise, mental health-wise. But this guy that I became friends with, Sergeant Haney, after drill weekend, Sunday, I get in my little Chevette. He gets in his car. I don't even know what. It was black. That's all I remember. Was it a Rabbit? Volkswagen Rabbit? I couldn't tell you for sure, but I think it was. So on Route 22, I wouldn't get out on 81 because I hate Route 81. I was going home to the farm where I lived. I was only like 19 or maybe 20. And on Route 22, it's sort of near Colonial Park Mall. There was we were on Old 22, and it veered off. Next thing you know, there he is, Sergeant Haney in his black car, blowing his horn and waving me over, get over, get over, get over. So I thought, what's wrong? What's wrong? What happened? What happened? So I pull over to the other side road that's sort of wide off of Route 22, and he pulled over too. He got out of his car and he said, hey, do you want to go have some drinks? Let's go on a date. Let's go out. And I said, no, you're married. I will not do that. I won't. I said, sorry, but that's not happening. I'm sorry. I like you as a person. We're friends. That's not happening. So I drove home, and I don't know where he drove. I just found out the next time I was at work or on drill weekend that he was drinking. He got drunk, and he was killed in a car accident. Talk about sin unto death. So Sergeant Byers, I think it was Terry Byers, our sergeant in charge of human resources at the time, needed people to help with the funeral and help his wife because she was like 8 months pregnant. So I didn't know, I volunteered before I knew all this, but I'm like, I know what he just did. He just asked me out on a date. And that was wrong. So did he sin unto death? Only God knows that answer, but I sort of believe he did, but it blows my mind to this day. And his wife was so distraught, and everybody in our unit was upset. He was a good person, and I feel like crap. I was going to say SHIT, because if I would have went with him, maybe I could have talked to him about not getting drunk, but it's not my fault. He went and got drunk and died in a car accident that evening or the next day or whatever day it was that next week. And I was sort of like in shock. But I never told anyone else. I think I might have told my husband about it and maybe one of my sisters, but I'm not sure. Or a good friend, like the girl in what chapter are we in? 15, but the girl in chapter 16 that I'm going to talk about. But of course, if you'd ask her, she'd say, oh, she never told me anything. I didn't do anything. I'm so innocent. Blah, 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 blah. I never listened to her and kept record of what she said or used it against her eventually. But yes, this is a true story. And Sergeant Haney died. I went to help with whatever Sergeant Byers, Terry Byers, was doing. Whoever else went along, I think Denny went along. And maybe Pete or John or Bob Spuler, I'm not sure. But then we did even 21 gun salute, where we fired our M16A1s up in the air so many times. Was it 7? 3 times 7 is 21. So you needed at least 3 people, or was it? Anyway, a total 21 gun salute. And I didn't do anything wrong. So, but I'm just saying this is what can happen. And been distraught. I thought, does everybody cheat? Is everybody around me sleeping around? I don't understand this. Blew my mind. Blew my mind totally. And yes, I thought my husband cheated. And I'll tell you in chapter 16 why. So I hope you're having a wonderful day. You just keep singing, dancing, making music, and having fun as much as possible.